Carbon Knights Gaming.
Welcome back, Knights, to another Summoners War video with myself, TorchHealer. Last time we looked at the Fire Rift Beast. I think today we're going to look at the Ice Rift Beast. I'll give you kind of my thoughts and impressions and stuff like that to hopefully help some newer people out with it. I consider it the second easiest, so I would say Fire Beast is probably the easiest. Ice Beast, next to that one. But, as per usual, let's get this video started with a beer. Sweet. Alright, so when you're looking at Rift Beasts, it's dependent. So you have to clear it in order to get anything above an A+. So if you don't clear it, the highest you can get is A+. And if you clear it above 30 or 3.5 million is triple S, 3 million is double S, I think, and then S is somewhere shortly below that. But let's take a look. So this is my team that I use for the water, or the Ice Beast, sorry. As you see, I've got my what's your name? Ragsvelg. On, he's only a 5-star, right? So, once again, you're utilizing that what is it? Off element, right? So he's going to get crit less. He's an attack, technically an attack, but I use him more as a support, right? He gives a branding, he gives a speed buff, he gives an attack buff, and those are what I need. So I've got one healer, I've got one support unit that can do some damage, and then 4 damage dealers. So let's take a quick look at how this goes, and I'll kind of chit-chat with kind of how it's going. So with the Ice Beast, right, so the Fire Beast brought in a bunch of little minions, and if you didn't do an AoE to clear everything, which Sigmaris is really good for, I was just talking to Poseidon, and Taor, another really good unit for that. These are the types of monsters that you want for that AoE clear. In the Ice Beast, he'll do a freeze, right? So what it does is it freezes and it takes you down to, I think, 20% health, 25% health. And when he does that, healing doesn't really fix it, right? Like, it's a set health bar. What helps with that is attack bar increase, right? So when you look at it, you want something that gives you a bit more attack bar, whether it's more speed, which is why that speed boost is pretty okay, or it can be something like an attack bar booster, right? So a Megan, a Bernard. Bernard's not bad. He also gives a defense break, as well as a speed buff. So he can be okay, but he doesn't offer a whole lot damage-wise. So for me, I'm a bigger fan of just utilizing a speed buff, right? So the Barbarian, like the Barbarian King, whatever, the Wind Barbarian King, Reappraisal, he provides the buffs that I want, right? Gives me an attack buff, which is what I want, and gives me a speed buff, which is what I want, as well as the brand. The brand makes a big difference. It's the only beneficial effect that will actually help Lucian do more damage, right? So he's got his standard attack, which is ignore defense, and it's essentially a set amount of damage that he can do. With a branding effect, it will allow it to do more damage, right? So it's a beneficial thing if you have a defense break as well as a brand. That's kind of the maximum amount of damage, as well as an attack buff. But that's the maximum amount of damage that you can really push out, right? So, as you can see, over 3.5 million, it's a triple S. I'm not saying that you have to do triple S, like I've said in the past. It just, do it to what you're able to do, right? It's definitely worth it when you start looking at what you can get. So let's see what this is. I don't need that. So let's run another one and see what we can chit-chat about here. So as you can tell, I've got the Water Twins. Now you might wonder why I have Water Twins. Well, because I didn't build the Wind Twins. And the passive of the water boomerang helps to mitigate damage when you have beneficial effects, which works out really well because I have beneficial effects. So the attack buff and that speed buff really help out with lowering some of that damage that I'm getting as well, right? One of the issues I have with this team is inconsistency in a defense break. My only defense breaker is one of the twins. Pretty sure it's the boomerang. But I don't really have a whole ton of accuracy on her, so she doesn't land the defense break all the time. So every once in a while, yeah, I don't get triple S every time. Sometimes I don't get double S. Once we get into kind of the wind and then the light and the dark, you'll notice that I don't kill the beast every time either, right? But the point of it is that I'm collecting those resources so that I can get those free reappraisal stones, right? You get those 6-star runes that you really, really want, right? But the substats on it are horrible, so you don't use it, right? So you get those reappraisal stones. It's a big, big help. But in this situation, personally, I'm going to recommend use your wind units, right? So all of my units, except for Lagmaron, they're all 4-star units, right? For most people, when you're first starting out in the game, Chassoon is going to be one of your staple monsters. The twins, you're going to use those everywhere. So as you can see, S score, right? 2.6 million is an S score. And so you'll notice that the rewards are slightly lower, right? So when triple S, it was 15 of the frozen water crystals, but it's still earning them, right? And it might take you a few runs longer if you're going for a homunculus, right? You might have to do a few more runs, but you're also getting rewards when you do it, right? So that's kind of the point, is what are you trying to build towards? Let's get another one going here. What are you trying to build towards? Are you trying to get that homunculus? Because then you're going to be farming the fire rift more often, right? So maybe put some better runes on some of your water monsters, your Sigmaris, your Megan, anything that's going to help you get good damage. Another good one is Xiaolin, the water kung fu girl. She's very popular in R5, and so a lot of people put her on a vampire set. I think I have mine on a vampire set, and I do use her for R5 raids. But utilize those monsters that you have, right? Even 4-star monsters, 3-star monsters, it probably wouldn't be too difficult to find a team that would utilize or could utilize 2 and 3-star monsters. There's no strip from this boss, so you can keep adding buffs onto yourself, right? So like a Shannon, a 2-star monster, gives an attack buff and a defense buff, as well as slows the enemy, which doesn't really affect this, and you can't really change the attack bar. There's no manipulation in that. But you can use those buffs to help better your scores, right? When you're first starting, if you're just trying to clear it in the first place, use a second support unit. I know that when I was doing a lot of the wind, I think it was, I had 2 support units. I had Chassoon and I had Colleen. Colleen's a 2-star unit. And it was kind of redundant. They both heal, they both give attack buffs, so they would constantly heal each other right after one another and then give attack buff right after each other. So my scores weren't exactly the greatest, but at the end of the day, I still was clearing it, or at least getting the resources that I wanted in order to build my homunculus. But yeah, so utilize the monsters that you have, right? So obviously, like in the last video, if you're going for fire and you're just focusing on fire, then put a little more focus onto those water monsters. In this, if you're going for like the water, if you want to upgrade like a water homunculus, which is what I have, it's amazing for TOA hard. If you're doing like a dots team, a damage over time team, it's night and day. It makes a huge difference, and I can show you some of my TOA teams down the line. But utilize those wind monsters so you get that extra beneficial effect of possible glancing. It's not difficult once you focus on something. I know a lot of people get monsters, and I know this is something that I did quite frequently, was you'll get a new monster and the first thing you want to do is ruin them up. And I still have all of my monsters ruined up from when I got them. And it doesn't help, right? You're going to have really good runes, 2 or 3 of them on one monster, and 2 or 3 really good runes on another monster, and 1 really good rune on a third monster. And it would make 1 monster really good, but it makes 3 monsters okay. Right? And if you're trying to progress and get better in, say, Arena or in the Rift Raids or in the Elemental Rifts, look at those runes and take the time during a free rune removal day. I think it's the first Saturday of every month or second Saturday. It's a Saturday of every month. And utilize that time to look at those runes, right? If you need to, make a list. I know that I've got some good runes that I have on not good monsters, or really good runes that I use on monsters that I don't use. So take the time to kind of organize yourself up and build a focus, right? If you want to, one of the guys on my friends list was chatting to me the other day about speeding up his dragons team. He wants better violent runes, right? So his teams are averaging around 2 minutes. So we sat there, we chit chat back and forth in private chat. Right? I've never met the guy in my life. We just met on the game, and we've kind of been chatting ever since. But he finally realized what he wanted to focus towards, right? So he wants to focus on making that Dragons team slightly quicker, right? So that for him to farm runes isn't taking 2 minutes every run, right? He'd much rather take 1 minute for a run. Or, slightly less than a minute, right? There is an achievement for being able to clear, each of the dungeons in under a minute. But once you find that focus, you can start moving those runes around to make better teams. So in the Rift Raids, if it's something that you want to focus on, there are some good rewards, right? Like you'll get your tolerance runes, you'll get your fight runes. Fight's probably what most people are going to want. But you also get the crafting materials for reappraisal stones or legendary boxes, which can sometimes have good things. They're not bad. If you're newer to the game, I'm not going to recommend them. If you have a bunch of extra resources, they can be quite good, some of the drops in them. Maybe after this run, since it's moving so smoothly, I'll take a look at crafting a legend box. We can see what's in it at least. But find that focus and where you want your game to go and where you want to progress yourself, right? Don't just willy-nilly have everybody doing everything all the time and then expect to, be progressing in Arena or progressing in dungeons, right? Like if you don't make any changes, your times aren't going to change, or your runs aren't going to become more safe, or your Arena rank is never going to change. Right, so you do have to take that time to put the effort in to see where you want to put that focus. So hopefully, if you're looking at doing water rifts, you're looking at those wind monsters, big damage is really helpful. A brand is really helpful, so that Reappraisal is, I'm not going to say a must, but it's a really good unit as a support unit. Chassoon, once again, really good unit as a support unit, and then you can just go buck wild with your damage. Another good one is the Wind Nine-Tail Fox. She has a wind attack lead, which can be quite helpful as well. Right, so once again, this is like an S rank, I think. So it doesn't matter how good you do. Right. The important part is that you're continuing to progress and make yourself better in the game. And the reason that I'm not getting any double S's or triple S's is because I haven't changed the runes on my water boomerang, because I'm not getting that defense break. And that's my own fault. I'll take the blame on that one. But let's see what we can craft here. So if you go over into the special, right, there's your reappraisal stones. They are definitely worth it. Right, so if you're getting triple S, 2 runs of each, right, and then the crystals, the pure magic crystals, they are a little more difficult to come by, but you get them in every run as well, right? So if you take the time and you kind of farm your way through it, they're definitely worth. So I'll grab my 3 right now. I'm always going to recommend getting Reappraisal stones. They are far more valuable, and it took me a little bit of extra time to realize how valuable they actually were. Like, I don't have a ton of legendary 6-star runes that I would want to reappraise, but I know that when I do find one, that it's really nice to be able to change some of the substats if it's something that I don't think I would use. This is the legendary box that I was talking about. It is pricier, according to the crystals, if that's something that you're looking at. But let's craft 2 of them and kind of see what we get. I've seen a lot of really good drops out of these. So, accuracy rune, already got one. We'll get rid of it. What's that? 50,000 mana. I'm okay with that. I don't really need blue gems. For any of you that are newer to the game, if you're not farming like R4 or R5, blue gems are going to be something that you're going to keep anyways. And you'll never know really when you're going to use them. It'll be kind of a nice surprise for you, I'm guessing, every once in a while when you get something worth it. But if you haven't been able to collect them via the raids or labyrinth, this is another way to get it. It is a bit more RNG based. So another accuracy rune. I usually only keep 1. They're definitely not that difficult to get. More mana, this time 75,000, which is fine. I always keep speed grinds, even blue and up. I don't know why, I just do. If I do end up with a rune that I want to use that is, let's say, a tolerance rune, like this one would be, it's nice to be able to boost up the speed a little bit. And then some light dark summon pieces. So I'm not going to complain too bad about that one. But as you could see when I brought up the light dark pieces, I've got a few summons saved up, and it's not just a few. So it looks like just a few now, right? So I've got 3 legendary, like 10 light dark, 60 some elementals, and then only 58 mystical scrolls. And what I'm going to do is, since our last video in Christmas time, so I think end of December is when we did our last summon video, I have been saving crystals. So as a free-to-play player, that I'm recording this just end of February. So free-to-play, between the end of December and the end of February, I have saved up over 16,000 crystals. Right? So for those of you that say, oh, free-to-play, it's so difficult, you can't progress, I have saved up 16,000 crystals. And there's 2 ways that, well, more than 2 ways, but there's 2 ways that I'm planning on using these. So I've told you before that I always save up my extra energy, so I have a ton of extra energy here to play around with. I could use them for refreshes, which would probably be the smarter idea. I could use them for premium packs, which is probably what I was going to use some of them for that, for a summon session once the Varad summon stones come in, which I think is in 2 weeks, so prepare yourselves for another summon video in a couple weeks. But another thing that I was contemplating on doing, and I'll leave this up to you guys, so leave a comment. This used to be an old, well, not an old trick, but a trick that used to be used, and I think it got balanced a little bit. So, scrolling through, you go through your magic shop, yeah, there's nothing there. But you can refresh it for 3 crystals, right? So, let's say you have 750 crystals, which is the equivalent of 1 premium pack. Alright, so you do that many refreshes. So, what's that, like 250 refreshes for 750 crystals. In that time, you can get legendary pieces, light dark pieces, 6-star legendary runes, 6-star hero runes, summoning stones, as well as mystical scrolls, right? So you might not get 11 mystical scrolls, you might get more than 11 mystical scrolls. It's kind of an RNG based thing, it's a luck based thing in my opinion. But you can utilize other aspects of the magic shop. Now, this works a lot better when you have a few extra million mana, which I've got 63.5 million. just from farming away, right? That's another way you get crystals. Just sit there and farm and farm and farm. So leave it in the comments. Would you rather me spend 16,000 crystals on premium packs, and that would give me probably around 360 summons in total, maybe a bit more, maybe a bit less, or would you rather me use 16,000 crystals in the magic shop doing refreshes and see what we get, or do half and half, right? So I can do, I'll narrow it down to 15. We'll do 15,000 crystals. I'll save 1,200 for farming, whatever. So 15,000 crystals, I can use 7,500 for premium packs, which will get me like, I don't know, 100 and some, what is that? It's 10. So yeah, 110 summons, like mystical scrolls, and then a bunch of Angelmon. And then I can use the other 7,500 refreshing the magic shop, and I'll just kind of keep track of what I get, right? So I buy summoning stones, a lot of people don't, I do. So I could keep track, and we could make a video of it if you like, just to kind of see the rates, how they would compare, right? So your 7,500 crystals in a premium packs, or 7,500 crystals in the magic shop. So please leave a comment down below. Let me know what your thoughts are. I know a lot of people don't like premium packs, but I've got a lot on my plate, so farming isn't something I can sit there and do all day. So usually my energy is pretty good, but let me know, and I'll look at the comments, and then before I make the next video, we'll see. The next video will probably be the Wind Rift Beast, which hopefully you guys tune in for. It's kind of it's a different one, right? The effect that the boss leaves is kind of a pain in the ass, but let me know what you want me to see, or what you want to see, what you want me to do, and hopefully we can make a video out of it, or I can just kind of give you guys the stats as to what I do, depending on what you guys vote on. So until then, like, comment, subscribe, check us out on Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, whatever, and yeah, I guess I'll see you guys in the next one. Keep those shields up.
Well, Knights, you made it all the way to the end. You know what that means. You've won the chance to watch another one of our videos, or perhaps even subscribe. Make sure to leave a comment, and we'll see you next time.